Yes, yes. Welcome in to the unofficial pregame show as we talk Cardinals and Braves here before Game 3 of the 2019 NLDS as the series transitions back to St. Louis. We just kind of started this show unintentionally. I was just kind of bored on Thursday as I was watching the game wind up with a Cardinal win, and I thought, you know what, I'd like to talk it over with people. And so we were doing it just on the TMA fan page, but now you can find us both for a pregame show today and the postgame show right after the game on Twitter, on YouTube, the Inside STL channel on YouTube, and then also on the TMA fan page and the Tim McKernan Show on Facebook. So participate in the fun and games with your questions, your comments throughout. They're all welcome, and all of the platforms are welcoming you to participate in the discussion. So we have some news here with the Cardinals and the lineup today, and this is what I think a lot of fans wanted to see, and that is Matt Carpenter in the starting lineup. But the byproduct of that is Harrison Bader is out of the lineup, meaning now you don't have Matt Carpenter to go to as a bat off the bench in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever the case might be. You will have Harrison Bader's glove in the outfield in the late innings, should that be the direction the Cardinals want to go. So here is the lineup posted via the Cardinals' Twitter account. Dexter Fowler leading off. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Tommy Edman is now hitting 7th, however. Colton Wong hitting 2nd. Paul Goldschmidt, Ozuna, standard 3-4. Then you get into Molina, Carpenter, Edman, DeYoung down to 8, and then Adam Wainwright. So that is how the Cardinal lineup now looks. And I was surprised by that, candidly. I wasn't surprised by Carpenter being in there. Mike Schilt announced that yesterday. But I was surprised by Edman going down to 7th. I'm imagining two different factors on this. And I'm curious what you guys think as well. And you can post your comments wherever you would like on all of the different platforms, both on Twitter and on the Facebook pages and YouTube as well. My thought is that the way the Cardinals are structuring this is to force the Braves' hand and not give the Braves what the Cardinals currently have with regard to the Freeman, Donaldson, Markakis string, where the Cardinals can go to a lefty. Even though Donaldson's a right-handed hitter, he's struggled against left-handed pitching. He hit .215 during the course of the year against left-handed pitching. So by doing this, the Cardinals now force Brian Snitker's hand on how he wants to handle the lefty-righty situation. That's what I think it's about. So you have Wong move up, and you have Edman down. So if they did want to bring in a lefty to face Carpenter, now you have Edman hitting right-handed following Carpenter, whereas if you kept Wong down there, you have the opportunity for them to go lefty-lefty. That's what I think it's about. I don't think it's necessarily the most cutting-edge move, but here's where I'm coming from on it. And the thing that concerns me a little bit is the bat who I trust the most at this moment is Tommy Edmonds, and now his plate appearances are theoretically reduced in comparison to where he was when he was hitting second. So from my standpoint, that's something that caught me off guard when I saw the lineup coming out. Mike Soroka is somebody who has pitched really well on the road, and so despite him, I think, being arguably the best pitcher for the Braves throughout the course of the year from start to finish, better than Keuchel, even better than the guy who looked like Jacob deGrom on Friday in Fultonevich, they intentionally wanted to get him on the road because his splits are so dramatic from home to road. He is a dominating pitcher on the road, one of the best you're going to find. So that is something that I am keeping an eye on. And then the other element of this, and I was really excited about seeing Wainwright pitch a day game at home, is the fact that it's cloudy here in St. Louis today. The shadow factor, which I place a great deal of value on, and in particular for an Adam Wainwright day postseason start, is mitigated because it's going to be cloudy and you're just not going to have the normal shadows that we've talked about before with Wainwright and how it can work to his advantage. At the same time, on the other side, it can work to the Cardinal hitter's advantage in that you will see the ball better when it's cloudy as opposed to if it's a bright, sunny, early October day and you have those shadows from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock at Busch Stadium. with the sun in the west southwest. So that's something that I liked going into the series, and now I don't think you're going to be seeing it today, as it's expected to be cloudy throughout the course of the game. So your thoughts on this one? I put up a Twitter poll earlier this morning as to what people were feeling on Game 3. And as natural with a St. Louis-based audience, you're going to get more positive than negative, but it's not as positive as I maybe would have anticipated. 63% expect the Cardinals to win today. That's out of 1,180 votes. And usually for something like this, let me put it this way. Following the Cardinals win on Thursday night, I put out a Twitter poll that the Cardinals are playing Game 2, Jack Flaherty starting. I would imagine the confidence level would have been in the 85 to 90% range. Again, from my audience, this isn't going out to as many Braves fans, of course, as it is Cardinals fans. And so you have it certainly with a bias and skewing in there. But 63%. Why would there be concern? Well, first off, I think some people look at Adam Wainwright and go, I hope he can do it, but in the back of my mind, I'm not sure he can do it. I would have felt better about his start if it were a sunny day in St. Louis. Maybe I'm overvaluing that. Secondarily, Soroka's damn good. And then finally, the Cardinal lineup is absurdly inconsistent. But I would imagine the approval rating of Matt Carpenter getting a start today versus Harrison Bader would be in the 90% range. I would have liked to have seen this on Friday, actually. I would have liked to have seen it in Game 1 and 2, candidly. But they do it now. Busch Stadium's a bigger ballpark, so you might lose a little something with Bader not in there as opposed to SunTrust. But Matt Carpenter's bat is needed for a lineup that is just, it's just very inconsistent. There's talent there. We all know there's talent there. But the weird thing is the guy who I personally am most excited about seeing up, Tommy Edman, is the guy who has the smallest track record of everybody else in the lineup. And DeYoung dropping down to 8, is really something. So if you look at the way the Cardinal lineup is structured, really with the exception of a pitching change coming in after Colton Wong, other than that, it's flip-flopping left and right. You go switch hitter, lefty, righty, 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 left, switch, right for the Cardinal lineup. And so that's something that I think is the explanation for why you're seeing Tommy Edman drop to number 7. Personally, I'd rather see Tommy Edman higher in the lineup, but that is what I believe the reason is. Let me take a look at some of the questions, comments. I'm not sure that's a smart move, but what the hell do I know? I'd keep Tommy in the top part of the order. Yeah, and I understand where people are coming from on that. I get it. Again, I think this is more about switch hitters and protecting the Cardinals' integrity of the lineup without allowing the Braves to just go in and set up lefty, lefty, lefty. That's what I think is the main thing on that. Let me take a look at your other and seeing what's going on here. Yeah, with regard to Bader, I just, it's a shame because I know there are a lot of people who would love to see the speed and the defense that he provides, but at this point you just really can't have him in the lineup. It's too much of a risk, and the Cardinal offense is so thin. The nice thing is that the Cardinal starting pitching allows the lineup to maybe get like 3 or 4 runs and win a ball game. But this Braves lineup, especially the top of the lineup, is so good. Can Adam Wainwright and the Cardinal bullpen keep that lineup under 3 runs? We'll see. That understandably has people concerned. I'm also anxious to see how Dakota Hudson performs. Something also to keep in mind here. The starters you saw in Atlanta, both, with the exception of Flaherty, both the Brave starters and then with Michaelis are all going to be available out of the bullpen, possibly as early as today, but certainly for tomorrow. So keep an eye on that. So if Wainwright or Hudson were to struggle, Miles Michaelis is available out of the bullpen. And then Brian Snitker talking about the possibility that he's not going to start Julio Teheran tomorrow and possibly start Keuchel on short rest. I always like the short rest thing, but it might be an old school viewpoint. And by that, I mean I like seeing an opposing team use short rest on the Cardinals because historically it's just been a problem for pitchers to pitch on short rest. But now I feel like it's so commonplace in the postseason that it doesn't have nearly the impact that it did back in the day. Like when Chris Carpenter started Game 2 against the Phillies on short rest, it was like, wow, Chris Carpenter's starting on short rest, and he didn't pitch terribly, but he didn't pitch great. Now you see it happen more and more often. I mean, we saw Max Scherzer come out of the bullpen on Friday night against the Dodgers, and Dave Roberts was like, yeah, we did not expect to see that. It's so commonplace, especially in these best of fives. Everybody's all in, so I imagine you're going to see moves that you have not seen in a Busch Stadium playoff game ever before, because this stuff really has come to the forefront in the last few years, and the Cardinals, of course, not in a postseason series in the last few years. Let me go into a couple more. How is this looking? I know some of you are watching on YouTube, some of you are watching on Twitter, and of course on Facebook. Any questions, comments, suggestions, we welcome them, as we are now doing this on a variety of different platforms and not just the TMA fan page. So please don't hesitate to give your feedback. Let's see. Who is big for me today, Tim? I really am bullish on Wainwright, and I don't know if this is I don't think it's an emotional play. I like to think I don't make the emotional plays. But I really like Wainwright today. I would have liked him more if it were a sunny day. I feel like it's probably going to be, if the Cardinals are going to win, in the 3-2 range. If it's going to be a blowout, I would tend to think that's going to be more to the Braves' advantage, the Wainwright factor being a wide delta, and then also the fact that the Braves lineup just has been more consistent and more potent. But you know what? We saw what the Cardinal lineup is capable of. We saw that in the 8th and 9th innings on Thursday night. So we know it's there. It just hasn't been consistent, and it really hasn't gone on consistently since that weekend at Wrigley Field. And as I always point out, anytime we talk about those offensive numbers at Wrigley Field, the wind was blowing out in a few of those games, and that is a monster factor. Let's see what else we have got going on. How long is the leash on Wainwright? I would think you would see him get yanked pretty quickly if he is off. I was really surprised. I was at that game last Saturday night against the Cubs, and I was stunned that he was in there as long as he was. I was confused by that. I don't know if it was Mike Schilt wanting to allow him to be able to walk off the mound in what theoretically, although I would consider it to be unlikely, his last Busch Stadium start as a Cardinal. I don't know, but that was odd to me. I can't imagine that he will have remotely even close to that long of a leash. 1-1 series, best of 5, game 3, it goes without saying. It's everything, and you can't allow anything other than a quick leash to be in play. But for both managers today, should the Cardinals somehow get to Soraka. Let's see what else we have here. People talking about my hotness. I would agree with that. I'm obviously beautiful. We've got a softer light here. Notice, if you're going to compare and contrast Thursday and Friday's broadcast, we have a softer light on it. And we're now available on YouTube and on Twitter as well. So, wrapping up the unofficial pregame show, want everybody to know that I'm talking about right when the game ends, I'm popping up here on Twitter, @TMcKernan. I'm popping up on Facebook, on the TMA fan page, which you ought to join if you have not joined before, the Tim McKernan Show page on Facebook, and then also the Inside STL channel on YouTube. And we'll BS throughout. I mean, I know a lot of people either be on a super high, like myself, should the Cardinals win, or a super low. Here is one thing that I'll request in advance, because shows how romantic my dinners are with my wife. We're at dinner last night, and I said, I have a feeling inevitably at some point on the unofficial postgame show, where I'm just sitting in my basement bullshitting with you, that I'm going to get in an argument with somebody because I think of a process more than a result. And the emotions of the postseason lead to a lot of results-oriented judgments and then posts about them and then criticisms of them after the fact. So I give a lot more credibility to one's judgment should he or she post this, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, whatever, in advance that you do not like a move. So, for example, when Miles Michaelis was pulled in the 6th inning, before the 6th inning of Game 1, some people are like, man, I don't like that Miles Michaelis got pulled there. Well, they waited until the Braves had scored some runs. Miles Michaelis was going up against, Freeman, the left-handed struggling Josh Donaldson and then the left-handed Nick Markakis. Well, that was the reason why the Cardinals did it. Plus, he had thrown a hell of a lot more stressful pitches in the first inning than the pitch count indicates. So that was the reason for it. But if you see something in advance, post it, email it to me, whatever the case might be. You might wind up being right. You might wind up being wrong. I'm certainly not going to dress anybody down. I guess you risk social media mockery. But that gives a lot more credibility than to, oh, I don't like this move because now I've seen the Braves score 4 runs because of it, or I didn't like the Cardinals pinch hitting a Rosarina there because of this, and then he strikes out. So that to me has more validity for the purpose of a flowing game discussion. But I will be right up here following the game on Twitter, at T. McKernan, on Facebook, the TMA fan page, which you ought to join, as it is, and then also the Tim McKernan Show page on Facebook, should you not want to join the TMA fan page, and then also the Inside STL channel on YouTube. It's just me BSing with you, Q&A, comments, frustration, exhilaration, whatever the case might be, following the Cardinals and Game 3 of the NLDS. It is the unofficial post-game show, and this concludes the unofficial pregame show. Looking forward to talking to you. Follow.